If you've ever stared at a pile of rough-cut wood, wondering whether you're about to spend another hour sanding only to end up with streaks or, worse, a wasted sheet of sandpaper, you're not alone. The hesitation of pulling the trigger on a new drum sander is real, especially when you're juggling a budget and a schedule that doesn't forgive mistakes. You want to be sure the machine you bring home actually fits your shop, doesn't chew through paper faster than you can afford, and gives you that clean-cut finish you'll actually see in the final piece. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. That's exactly the spot where the Jet 723520K JWDS 1632 plus 20 amp service with the 608003 stand-in set lands. It's marketed as a plug-and-play solution for anyone who needs a 1632 drum sander, and on the surface it sounds like a no-brainer: Precut sandpaper, a motor that promises to stay cool, and a conveyor that you can align without a wrench. But does that promise hold up when you actually dust off the bench and start sanding a live project? Let's walk through the real-world experience, the trade-offs that aren't obvious on the spec sheet, and who should or shouldn't spend their hard-earned cash on this particular model. First off, the most immediate benefit is the Precut 1632 sanding belt set that comes with the unit. Most woodworkers I've spoken with spend at least a half hour each time they have to measure, cut, and then realign a new belt. Jet's approach here is to ship you 4 rolls already trimmed to the exact 1632 width, which means you slip a new belt on, tension it, and you're ready to go. In practice, that saves you the hassle of trying to line up the cut edges on a machine that's already finicky about edge alignment. For a hobbyist who only sands a few pieces a month, that convenience translates directly into a smoother workflow and less wasted time. If you're the type who already has a stash of custom-cut belts, the Precut advantage is less compelling, but you still get the extra set of rolls as a backup. The motor's Sandsmart control claims to continuously monitor the load on the drum motor and adjust power accordingly. In the shop, that means the sander doesn't suddenly stall when you hit a denser hardwood, and it doesn't overheat on a long sanding pass. I've seen similar features on higher-end models that rely on a thermal sensor, and the effect here feels subtle but noticeable. When I moved from sanding a pine pallet to a dense maple tabletop, the unit maintained its speed without a hitch, and the motor stayed cool enough that I could run it for 45 minutes straight without a temperature alarm. For anyone who routinely works with varied wood densities, that adaptive power control is a genuine time-saver, no more stopping to let a motor cool down mid-project. Now, the conveyor belt's parallelism adjustment is another point where Jet tries to differentiate itself. Instead of digging out a set of Allen wrenches, you twist an exterior dial to fine-tune the belt's alignment. The dial feels robust, and after a couple of test runs you can get the belt tracking within a millimeter of the perfect line. The catch is that the dial only offers a limited range of adjustment, so if your machine arrives with a slight factory misalignment, you can correct it, but you can't compensate for a seriously warped drum. In my experience, the initial factory alignment was decent, and the dial gave me the fine-tuning I needed for a clean, even finish. If you happen to receive a unit that's already off-center, the limited travel might require you to shim the belt manually, a step that defeats the no-tool promise. One area where the Jet 1632 Plus really shines is the 220 grit finish capability. The included 220 grit belt produces a surface that's smooth enough to take a hand-rubbed coat of finish without seeing sanding marks. For a project like a small cabinet door, you can go from rough cut to reinforced in a single pass, which is a significant efficiency win. That said, the 220 grit belt also wears out fairly quickly if you're sanding a lot of soft wood. On my test bench, a single 220 grit roll lasted about 30 minutes of continuous use before I noticed a drop in sanding performance. If you're planning to sand high volumes of soft material, say, a production line of pine panels, stocking up on extra belts becomes part of the ongoing cost. When it comes to the overall footprint, the entire unit sits on a sturdy base that takes up roughly the same floor space as a standard bench grinder. It's not a portable setup you can roll out of a van, but it's also not a massive floor standing machine that monopolizes a whole corner of the shop. For a small to medium woodshop, it fits comfortably next to a table saw and doesn't dominate the workflow. If you have a cramped hobby bench, you'll need to measure the 30-inch footprint and ensure you have clearance for the